The Journey of the King, the Final King Planet Decode. Welcome back, family. Let's do this. Here we go. On 9/6/2025, we had the alignment with the planet Jupiter and Pollux, the bridegroom. What we're going to be doing in this video, we're going to be discussing the encoded patterns within the heavens. There are very specific patterns and cycles that each planet takes. And then there are cycles between the constellations. So we're going to be breaking down all of these different codes in heaven and discussing how this works with our understanding of the end times. And we're going to take a step back in the past, and we're going to look at how all of this has come down to us from the heavens. This is a grand story of a great wedding in the heavens. And what we have here is the constellation of Gemini. If you've been following this channel for a while, then you know we don't look at Gemini as two brothers. We're looking back to the ancient depictions of the constellation. If you go to the Dendera zodiac, you will see that what is presented as Gemini is a bride and a bridegroom, not two brothers. So we are using this depiction to decode the heavenly wedding. And forgive me, family, that I'm a little late on this. It has been a very rough ride with my health. I have been incredibly ill for almost a month, and I've lost a lot of weight. I can't even walk up a flight of stairs without getting completely winded. My daughter brought something home from school, and it literally almost killed me. And I've been trying to recover for a long time. It's taken me a lot to get to this point, and there's a lot of work in all of this. And I just had so much brain fog and the inability to catch my breath. I wouldn't have been able to do proper videos. It's been a real difficult ride. So I appreciate your prayers, and thank you for all of the wonderful messages and your support. So we're going to do our best. If I have to pause this because of my lungs, it's not nearly as bad as it was a couple days ago. I finally feel like I'm making a turn. But I may have to jump in here and there and pause it if I'm having a hack attack or start sneezing. I'm still having some minor issues, and I'm hoping to, uh, over the next couple days, be able to finish this thing up. So your prayers are greatly appreciated. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at the cycles of Jupiter. And this is going to take a while to get through all of this information, but it's absolutely vital that I bring forth all the details so that you can understand the grand picture there, because this is his story. And this is the story of the great wedding feast in the heavens. And we're going to begin here. I will drop the links in the descriptions. That'll help if you are one of those that likes to go do more research, because I'm not going to be getting into much of this information. I'm just going to drop the links so that you can see how all this works for yourself. We've discussed this multiple times in the past about Jupiter cycles and how Jupiter has very specific signs that we can look at to understand the representation of Messiah. So first we have what's called the 12-year cycle of oppositions, or the 12-year cycle of Jupiter around the sun. And what we want to do is quickly, we're going to get into some basic details. Let's see if I can find, I think it's in, we're going to go here real quick. So this is the Wikipedia for Jupiter. And the first thing that we're going to be looking at is this information here. I don't know why I did that. So Jupiter orbits the sun at a distance of 5.2 astronomical units with an orbit period of 11.86 years. Now they've rounded that up as a 12-year cycle of Jupiter. And you can go and look at how they have all of these oppositions tracked through the years here. What they're showing is through the zodiac, you can see how on August 20th of 2021, Jupiter was in Aquarius. And then on August 25th, 2033, Jupiter will be back in Aquarius. And so that's going to become an important part of our decode. We're going to be talking about the totality of the journey. We're going to be looking at very specific encoded messages within the heavens. And we're going to be breaking all of these things down so that you can see how these codes are vital understandings of how the cycles of Jupiter are giving us the signs that we need to see for the great wedding in heaven. So, first, the basics. Jupiter is the king planet. And Jupiter was the first of the sun's planets to form in its inward migration during the primordial phase of the solar system. So Jupiter is the firstborn. So that is a definite sign. And we also see the solar storm on Jupiter has been discussed by so many people as the piercing mark of Christ. And there's many, I mean, you can go to so many videos looking at the representation of Jupiter compared to Messiah. And we know that the wise men used this Jupiter planet as the star of Bethlehem. And this has been proven many, many times using stellarium, using historical evidence. The entire thing has been broken down by many, many researchers. And you can go find that information. I was in a live stream with Decoding with Cody last night, and they were breaking down some stuff and understanding the patterns and the heavenly codes within the planet Jupiter helped them to understand the decode that they were doing. So I want everybody to understand that this planet, Jupiter, is an ancient code. And we're going to be breaking that down for our purposes of the great wedding in heaven. So, first, we know that this constellation, as the bride and the bridegroom, is a representation of the coming marriage in heaven. First, we have Gemini on the edge of the silver gate. And this is a very important location in the heavens. It's on the opposite side of the Golden Gate. And these are the gates of heaven. The foot of the bride and the foot of the bridegroom are standing on the Milky Way. And let's go ahead and take a look at that here. So if you have stellarium, you can do this in multiple ways. We can see that the Milky Way goes all the way through the ecliptic and over to the Golden Gate between Sagittarius and Scorpius. And if you track the this all the way back across to the Silver Gate, then you can see some very important patterns shown to us in the heaven at this Silver Gate. First, it is presented to us with Ariga, the shepherd, Orion, the conquering one, and Taurus, the judge. And in Taurus is what's called the Golden Gate of the ecliptic. And that is the line coming out of Pleiades that goes across to the Hyades in the head of Taurus, the judge. And these are all three signs of Messiah: the shepherd, the conquering one, and the judge. But he's also the bridegroom. And this is very important language in the heavens at the gate. And this is where these cycles of Jupiter can be determined to be showing us a wedding pattern, because we have Jupiter on 9/6 of 2025 at the very end of the day, right before midnight, which on the biblical time would actually be the 7th of September, because the day begins at sunset. So we would see that Jupiter is aligned with the bridegroom. So the king planet has aligned itself with the bridegroom Pollux. So now what we're going to do is we're going to show you the beginning of the journey. So in order to do that, we have to go back to 2014 and let's look at the alignment of Jupiter with the bridegroom. And then we're going to look at these patterns, and we're going to be looking at how the alignment with the bridegroom here. I want to show you a very important sign. Been having problems with um, been having some minor problems with my, this keeps happening. Been having some problems with my um, my stellarium here, and I'm not sure why. Forgive me, fam. Okay, so here we are. We're looking at the planet Jupiter. It's made its alignment here with Pollux. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull this up. And we can see how asteroid Davida is there. David is in the bride, and Herculina, which is a feminine of Hercules, is there in the bridegroom with Jupiter. And this Pollux star is the head of the bridegroom. And if we're looking at this pattern, again, remember, Jupiter takes 12 years or 11.86, but it's rounded up to 12, to get back to the same location in heaven. So we should see Jupiter back in Pollux in 2026, 12 years later. So let's do that really quick. Let's look at 2026 and let's see where the bridegroom ends up. So here we are, 11.86 years later. We see the pattern of Jupiter repeat. So here we are on May the 2nd of 2026. We have Jupiter back at the bridegroom. And this is going to become very important in this decode. So now what we're going to do is we're going to show you some very important patterns. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to 2014, and we're going to be looking at this alignment here. And forgive me, fam, I'm going to do my best with timing, but we've got to get this down. So here we go. Here is our beginning of this journey of the bridegroom, the king. And this journey begins May 24th, 2014. And one of the things that I want to point out is a very important sign associated. You just cannot make this stuff up. These are grand signs within the heavens. The sun, on the day that Jupiter aligns with the bridegroom, is at the golden gate of the ecliptic. When it talks about the prophecy of the Messiah having the 7 lampstands in his hand, this is Messiah represented to us as the sun, the bridegroom, and he's at the golden gate of the ecliptic, and in his right hand is the Pleiades, the 7 sisters, the 7 golden lampstands. And on his left hand is the head of the judge. And if you've done any research into the Hyades are considered the called out ones. And the called out ones are the judges. Because it says that the bride of Christ will end up sitting in the judgment seat. And we will judge the nations with Messiah. And that is being shown to us right here in the heavens. And between the horns of the judge in the silver gate, we see Mercury the messenger. This is a grand message. Jupiter the bridegroom, or Jupiter the king at the bridegroom, Mercury in the gate, and the sun at the golden gate of the ecliptic. So on this day, we're getting a very important message in the heavens. It's screaming at us. Unfortunately, this is a lost art, and it is just coming back on the scene. Very few people have the ability to decode the heavens. It's been lost. This is being re-manifest through many people now. I can't even, I didn't ever think that we would get to the point where I see so many different videos of people breaking down the Mazzaroth. I thought that this would be um, an impossible mission, to be honest with you, because when I first started studying this stuff 15 years ago, the amount of resistance that I got from Christians was astronomical. I had so many people judging me for so long for looking into these signs. And the judgment came from nobody but the Christian church. And now there has been a great exodus from the churches. And now we see a giant movement of YouTube podcasters that are doing this research on their own outside of the churches. And this is where we're getting the disclosure of the heavens, because the Mazzaroth is not astrology. It is biblical astronomy. And anybody who judges what they do not know will, in the end, stand in judgment of themselves. You cannot deny these signs in the heavens. It's written all through Scripture. The majority of the prophecies in the Bible are star codes, family, and it's been hidden, undisclosed, demonized by the church for a very long time. And we are going to break that spell. And that's what this work is on this channel, to break down the enemy's hold on the mind of the body of Christ. This is a work of a mission. And I am in the mission field in the stars. And my purpose here is to do this disclosure. And I haven't seen anybody have the ability to do this kind of complete decoding. It's a gift, and I receive it. And I hope this will bless all of you greatly. Okay, forgive me. I had to take a second to compose myself. Next, we're going to 8/10 of 2015. And here we go, fam. This is about to get serious. Okay, here we are. We're looking at the king planet aligned with Regulus, the king star. If you're not familiar with the story of the birth of Messiah and the wise men, this was one of the most important signs to the wise men of the coming king. The triple conjunction. I believe it was in 4 or 5 BC. The triple conjunction of Jupiter and Regulus. And these were the signs that the wise men used to determine where the king was going to be born and when the king was going to be born. So here we see on 8/10 of 2015, we now have Jupiter at Regulus. And the signs that are around this alignment are Mercury the messenger, Venus. We all know what Venus represents. Maybe you don't. So let's break that down. Venus is either a morning star or an evening star. When it's on the right side of the sun, it's a morning star, and it represents Messiah, the morning star. And when Venus is on the left side of the sun, it represents the bride, because Venus is a dual sign. It has both masculine and feminine representations. And when it does its balance back and forth from the sun, these signs change. So we see Jupiter, the king, at Regulus, the king star. Mercury, the messenger, is right there with the bride, Venus, and the bridegroom, the sun, had just passed the claws of Cancer, a sign of harvest. So here, this is 8/10 of 2015. Now we're going to go to 2016, 8/5, and we're going to be looking at this alignment here. So this is Jupiter in conjunct with the moon, and we see that this is happening at the edge of the constellation of Virgo, but it's still in what they call the Lion's Gate. And the Lion's Gate is the triangle in the tail of Leo. The gate is between the constellations. And Jupiter is in that gate in transition into the bride, the maiden, Virgo. And we're going to go 3 days later, and we see Jupiter entering the bride on 8/8, the 88 sign. 2016, 8/8, Jupiter enters the bride. Now we're going to go forward to 11. We got to get Jupiter back up. And we're going to watch this transition. This is 11/20 of 2016. Now, these are very, very important signs in the heavens. I'm going to be breaking down the Revelation 12 sign in detail. I don't know if this has ever been done. I believe I've done it on my old channel, Cottage Culture, but I don't have a memory of exactly what I disclosed back then. It's been about 4 or 5 years. So I'm going to do that again in this channel. We're going to be breaking down all the signs within the Revelation 12 sign because they are involved in the middle of our story. If our patterns or heavenly codes begin on May the 24th of 2014 with the sun at the golden gate of the ecliptic and Jupiter aligned with the bridegroom, then now we're seeing Jupiter, the king planet, entering into the womb of the Virgin. Now, let's move forward and we're going to watch Jupiter transition through the womb of the Virgin. And you just can't make this stuff up, family. Here we are on 9/9/2017. We all know the date. This is the birth of Jupiter, the alignment with the Spica star, which is the exit of the womb of the Virgin or the maiden. Now she would be a representation of the bride because the seed was planted. 9/9/2017, Jupiter's born. Let's go back and watch the pattern. Okay, look. Jupiter is retrograde right at the exit of the womb. You can't make this up, family. This is a perfect pattern of a child in a womb for over 9 months. It's being shown to us and it's unmistakable. So now we're going to go to 9/23. At the end of the day, we see the moon entering to the altar, the marriage altar. The moon is under the feet of the Virgin. This is the Revelation 12 sign. And she's crowned with 12 stars. And Vesta, the Virgin, is right there above the sun. And this is a great and mighty sign in the heavens, presenting to us that it's an unmistakable code or pattern that we can decode in the heavens. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move past the Revelation 12 sign, and we're going to begin to present the rest of the Jupiter story and the journey of the king planet. Okay, our next stop is 1027. And here we go. Okay, fam, here we are on 1027, 2017. We have a great sign in the heavens. And this is actually mind-blowing. And I don't know if it's ever been disclosed. 10/27, 2017, immediately after the Revelation 12 sign. What do we see? Jupiter aligned with the sun, with Amphitrite, a representation of Mary Magdalene. We see comet Machos there. And there's, I believe, 3 or 4 comet Machos that move together through the heavens. And we've been breaking that down in our time now because Machos is back in the story. And in the womb of the Virgin, with the alignment of the king planet and the bridegroom, is Vesta, the virgins, and Venus as the bright and morning star. You can't make this up. The bridegroom is in the womb with the virgins. And the comets are marking it. Okay, now I want you to remember there's a 12-year pattern of Jupiter. And this is going to become vital to the understanding of the tribulation and the timing of the tribulation. We can decode the timing of the actual tribulation with these signs in the heavens. And I'm going to prove it without a shadow of the doubt that prophecy is star code. 10/27, 2017. Now, here we are, fam. We are looking at 12 years later on 10/31/2029. We have the alignment of the king planet and the bridegroom with Mercury, the messenger. This is Halloween. There are many who have shown that October the 31st is the date of blood. Now we're going to move forward to 12/9. Of 2031. This is a 14-year journey from the Revelation 12 sign. 7 and 7. The code of Joseph. The patterns of the tribulation. Jupiter enters the tabernacle. The king enters into the temple. Okay, now we're going to go to we're going to back up. And we're going to be looking at in our time now, and then we're going to come back to this in just a little bit. Okay, we're going to back this up, and actually we're going to need to come out here, and let's just go ahead and back it up to the alignment. Okay, here we are at our alignment on 9/6/97 with Jupiter and the bridegroom Pollux. And if you watch, Jupiter goes retrograde right after its alignment with the bride in Pollux. The very next day, Jupiter goes retrograde 11/11. The 1111 sign presented to us in the heavens. Jupiter goes retrograde. And now we have another vital sign in the heavens. We're looking at Jupiter back at the bridegroom on 1/17/2026 in the midst of Mazzaroth Hanukkah. Jupiter in retrograde. Now remember back to 2017 when Jupiter retrograded right at the exit of the womb, turned in the womb, did its flip over as a child does right before it's born. And we're seeing the same pattern of Jupiter in Pollux. And if you're familiar with Pollux, in his right hand, he holds a scythe. He's the harvester. Now we're going to watch Jupiter finish its motion through Pollux. Next, we're going to 5/2 of 2026, May the 2nd, Jupiter at Pollux in forward motion. Our sign in the bridegroom is completed. Okay, now we're going to go back to we're going back to 12/9/2031. And again, family, these things, this is the most powerful information. You cannot make any of this stuff up. That's the beauty. I can't manipulate this information whatsoever. This is the king entering the tabernacle. And what do we see in the constellation? 10P Temple. Comet 10P Temple in the constellation of Sagittarius. And Jupiter is aligned with the tabernacle. Now let's go to 2032. Twelve 28. This is very important star codes. 12, 28, 32. Jupiter enters the temple of sacrifice. This is the temple of the sun. In our next Escape of the Bride Decode 13, we're going to be discussing this in absolute detail. So I'm going to leave the details to that video. But know that Capricorn is the temple of the sun, the bridegroom. So in our story of the escape of the bride, the marriage happens when all of the planets gather in Sagittarius. And I broke that down in that video. But we can see here another sign appearing to us in the heavens. We have in the constellation of Capricorn, we have 45P Honda. We have Venus. And we have Jupiter entering the temple of the sun, Messiah. And if you look at the way that this works, as we've broke down in the heavenly wedding, the escape of the bride, it begins at the altar Libra. This is the first part of the wedding. Then the next part 2 of the wedding is the Hupa. And that's them transitioning through the constellation of Ophiuchus and Scorpius. And then the third part of the wedding is them entering into the Father's house for the great wedding feast. This is where everybody's gathered for the feast. But in the story of the bridegroom and the marriage, if you've done the research, if you've been with this channel for a while, then you know. The father is the one who determines when the wedding happens. The son doesn't know. The father works with the son to prepare a place for the bride. And that could take between 1 to 2 years from the time that they make their vows at the altar. And in that last video, I presented the 2023 signs, and 2 years later, we have our signs remanifesting right before our eyes exactly 2 years later. So this is the king entering his temple. 12, 28, 2032. Now let's watch this transition. And you just cannot make any of these things up. This is powerful heavenly star code. Vesta, under the wing of the Father. The Son, the bridegroom, is in the temple. Jupiter, the king, is in the temple. Mercury, the messenger, is in the temple. He's transitioning into the temple of resurrection. So let's watch Mercury on this day transition right into the temple. Here it is. Mercury on 1/25/2033. We have Mercury entering the temple of resurrection. Now, in order for us to decode this language, we need to understand the timing. So, if we look at Maseroth Hanukkah and the dates surrounding the celestial Hanukkah, I'm not talking about the Jews' calendars. For those of you following the Jews, you're being led by corruption. Corrupt leaders, corrupt churches. If you can't see what's happening with Charlie Kirk, this is Messiah showing us at the deepest layers that the church and Israel are corrupted. Time for the eyes to open. This is the code. These are the times. We don't follow the Jews in any way. There isn't anything that they have that we need. They are whitewashed sepulchres. And inwardly they are ravenous wolves. And they will destroy you with their doctrines. Doctrines of demons. On 1/13/2025, we begin Maseroth Hanukkah, based on the signs in the sun, moon, and stars. if you look at the pattern of the temple, the tabernacle during the Exodus and them building the temple and presenting how it was made and structured and all of those things. And then you go back to the time of Solomon. There is an encoded structure there. This is why Hanukkah matters, because it is a code. It's not a holiday. This is a celestial encoded message. You have 8 days of Hanukkah. That's 113 through 120, 2026. And then you have the actual dedication of the temple, which comes after what they would consider booths or tabernacles or the feast of ingathering. Go back and prove this for yourself. Many have this wrong. Some flip it upside down and say the dedication was before, but that's not true at all. It's written. It can be found. You have the Feast of Ingathering is an 8-day celebration. On the last day, the priests come together and begin their 7-day cycle, which is the dedication of the temple. This is exactly why the Maccabees created Hanukkah, because they could not celebrate the ingathering or dedicate the temple because of the corruption and the war. So when they took back the temple, they had to do the dedication, rededicate the temple. And that is a 7-day feast of the priests. So you have 8 days of the ingathering, and on the 8th day, it's the first day. The first becomes the last, and the last becomes the first. So if Hanukkah is the 13th through the 20th, then the dedication would be 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. 1, 26, 20, 26. Would be our Hanukkah. And now we're looking forward at Mercury entering the resurrection temple on 1/25/2033 entrance of the last day of the dedication of the temple. The heavens declare. This is not me presenting my ideas, as many have said in the past. This is the signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and it's undeniable. Take that to the bank.